Hi there, everyone. Welcome. Thanks for always jumping onto my last minute IGTV lives. I have had so many inquiries about green smoothies and questions about them. So I kind of want to talk about green smoothies today and why I like them, but some things that you need to look out for because not everyone is actually going to respond to green smoothies really well, and there's a few reasons why. Before we go into those reasons, we need to kind of talk about gut dysfunction. So the more dysfunctional your gut is, so the more inflammation you have in your gut, the more dysbiosis, the more leaky gut you have, the less foods you're going to be able to tolerate. So a green smoothie with like 10 ingredients is not going to work well for your gut. So you might have to go low and slow and do really simple ingredients in the beginning. Let's kind of talk about the inflammation curve. So this is kind of like the inflammation curve. Pretend there's a line that's following my finger and it goes whoop, all the way up like that. So the inflammation curve is the higher on this inflammation curve you are. So let's say you're up here, the more food intolerances you have. The further down on the inflammation curve you are, the less food intolerances you have. So if you are somewhere here on that curve, chances are you're probably going to do like 9 out of 10 times, you're going to be fine with your green smoothies. You're not going to have issues. If you're like up here on the inflammation curve and you have like leaky gut through the wazoo and food issues that you can't eat food, you can't digest food, and then you're downing a green smoothie, all that fiber, all that phytic acid, all those oxalates are just going to tear up your gut. You're going to be bloated. You're going to be lethargic. You're going to be tired. You're going to feel more sick. And that's because your inflammation is up here, your digestible, like your ability to digest is down here. And then it's just, and then you just don't feel good. So that's one of the reasons you might have poor digestion. You might have food allergies, sensitivities, intolerances. And so a green smoothie might not be a good fit right now. If you are on this inflammation curve and you're kind of like up here, one thing I always tell people is steam your greens first because there is fiber in the greens. And when you have gut inflammation, you actually don't handle fiber very well. The reason why you don't handle fiber very well is your gut hasn't actually been primed to digest fiber. Now, our ancestors, they ate 50 plus grams of fiber back in the day, every single day. The average American, I think, eats like 13. It's something really sad and low like that. And I think our daily recommended value or like what we're supposed to eat is something like 30, or like 35. And we're getting like 13. It's pathetic. We don't eat fiber. And so when you don't use it, you lose it. So if we're not eating fiber, we kind of lose our ability to break down fiber. And here's why. Fiber feeds bacteria. So if you haven't been eating fiber or a robust amount of fiber for years and years and years, your bacteria starts to starve, or at least the good bacteria. It starts to starve and it comes down, and then bad bacteria and yeasts grow. And then we have this like imbalance and this dysbiosis in the gut. So now you all of a sudden throw in a green smoothie. I'm going to sneeze in a second. I'm so sorry. So then all of a sudden, I think it's going away. Sorry, guys. So then all of a sudden you have this dysbiosis, very little bacteria breaking down fiber because you're actually not feeding them and you're not nurturing them. And then you throw in a green smoothie that has tons of fiber. And guess what? They're like, what are you doing? We don't normally eat this much fiber. We don't know how to break down all this fiber in a short amount of time. So now you're sitting in all this fiber that's not being eaten by bacteria, and that fiber just sits in your gut and then it starts to ferment. And when it ferments, these bad bacteria love to eat fermented food, rotten food, right? And now we've got rotting food in your gut. We've got bad bacteria feasting off of this rotting food, and then you're bloated and you're gassy. And guess what? When you're bloated and you're gassy and the bad bacteria eating, your immune system starts to rev up, like the bad immune response starts to get heavier and heavier. And now you're feeling sicker and sicker. And now you have this like full-blown immune response where you're like getting diarrhea and you're bloated and you're gassy and you have a headache. And then you're like, green smoothies, my body hates vegetables. Well, your body doesn't hate vegetables. You just haven't taught it to digest vegetables. I'm going to plug my phone in because it's about to die. So give me 2 moments. We're back. My phone's going to fall. So that's another issue with green smoothies. So if that's you and you have like a little amount of good bacteria that can't break down a lot of fiber, then drink a teeny tiny bit of green smoothie, right? So don't like do the full blender like I do. Like I've primed my body to just digest all the fiber in the world. So start off small and like introduce it to your body nice and gently. Another thing is steam your greens. So if the greens are tearing up your gut and you have gut dysbiosis, like steam your greens, lightly heat them, and then put them in your blender. One other thing that you might have an issue with is oxalates. So oxalates are anti-nutrients that can actually tear up your gut and pull out certain minerals and vitamins from your food. Now, oxalates are not a big deal unless you have digestive issues or a very specific genetic issue where your body literally has no capacity to handle oxalates. So if that is you, what you need to do then is go online and research high oxalate foods. Spinach is a very high oxalate food. So you might not want to make your smoothies with spinach. You might want to look at low oxalate foods and then make your green smoothie with those low oxalate containing foods. Better yet, if you are doing a green smoothie and you can't handle it, look for low oxalate foods. Use those greens that are low in oxalates, steam them, and then put them in your smoothie and only make a little bit at a time and see if that works. If you are putting cucumbers in your smoothie, for instance, peel it. The peel on the cucumber is going to tear up your gut, especially if you have like SIBO and any kind of dysbiosis. And that's really it, you guys. Those are like some of my green smoothie tips, like start slow and slow. They can be really helpful, but don't try and push through. Like, okay, there's a line between pushing through to get to the other side and like pushing through and doing more damage. So I want you to like listen to your body, and go slow. So start with a small smoothie and maybe you're doing like half fruit, half greens, right? And then you're doing a small smoothie and you're doing like a quarter fruit, and this is like a week or two later, and then you're doing a quarter fruit and 3/4 greens. And then you're making that smoothie bigger after a few weeks and then bigger and bigger. And then maybe after a few weeks, you're no longer steaming your greens. You are using like raw greens. Maybe you're trying different types of greens because our bodies don't all work the same and don't all need the same and they don't all digest the same. So greens that work for me might not be greens that work for you. I am not the expert on your body. You are, or at least you're becoming the expert, right? So it's just like trial and error. And trust me, like even if it doesn't work out, don't think you failed. You just learned something new. So that's really beautiful. It's like, oh, you're getting downloads on your body and what it needs right now and what it doesn't need. And what it needs right now might be something different in 3 months. So that's the beauty is you get to try and experiment and try again. And that's it. When you become like an advanced green smoothie connoisseur, then start throwing in like the high fiber foods like the ground flax and the chia and the hemp hearts and, you know, some of the mushrooms and the moringa powder and the chlorella and the spirulina. You know, you can really get really creative with what you put in and try different things. But in the beginning, try to keep it really simple so that if you are reacting, you can backtrack and see what you're reacting to. If you put 10 ingredients in and you react, like which one of the 10 did you react to? If you put 3 ingredients or 4 ingredients, it's a lot easier to track and be like, all right, let me try my smoothie with these 3 ingredients the next day. Did I react? Yes. Okay, let me try it with another 3 ingredients. Did I react? No. Okay, it was obviously that last one that I used the past 2 days. So process of elimination, like try and figure out what it is that you are reacting to. Green smoothies are truly fantastic and simple. My favorite is it the Vitamix or the Blend Tech? It's the smaller one. I'll put it in my stories. Also, the Instapot blender is a lot cheaper than the Blend Tech and the Vitamix, and it's still super powerful. So look into the Instapot blender. And it's made from glass, which I really love. Yes, I can't remember. I think it's the Vitamix, the one that I have. It's the one where you don't put like the stick in the middle and you turn it around. There's no stick to go on the top. And that's it, you guys. I hope that was helpful. I hope that you learned something new and that smoothies became a little less daunting to you. And if you are reacting negatively, you now have tools, right? Look for the oxalates in your ingredients. Look for the phytic acid in the ingredients that could be aggravating your gut. Try the elimination thing, steam your greens, peel your cucumbers. Don't go for the high fiber stuff just yet, like the flax and the chia. Even though flax and chia are so fantastic for feeding your gut bacteria. Because remember, let me go back to this before my phone dies. Good bacteria is down here, bad bacteria is up here. You are trying to feed the good bacteria over time, right? And so we're feeding a little bit of fiber and it's proliferating. We're feeding a little bit more fiber and it's proliferating. That's going to take months, right? But maybe years for some people. So just take your time. And but that the flax and the chia, that is like a superfood for bacteria, and it actually, they digest it and it turns into like short chain fatty acids, which is so good for your colon and so good for your health and so good for your immune system. But if you're reacting to that, it's because you have very low amounts of good bacteria down here. So it's not because the flax is bad, it's just because you actually don't have the players yet to break it down. So nurture your players, whether it's with small amounts of green smoothies that are steamed, like with the steamed greens. Just nurture them, give them some time, and your body will adjust and your bacteria will adjust until the good guys are up here and the bad guys are down here, and then you can digest anything you want. You can digest like wood on the floor if you please. Don't do that. I don't think there's any nutritional value, but you know what I'm saying. I'm going to see if there's any questions here to answer. I know there are. Should you do a test to see what kind of bacteria resides in your gut before you choose your... No, I mean, yes, you can. Okay, so the question is, should you do testing to see what bacteria you have, to see what you can nurture? If you want to waste money, sure, you know what I mean? But those tests are so expensive. When most of the time, 9 out of 10 times, like people actually don't do the basics, right? Like you have bad bacteria up here and good bacteria down here, and you need a test to tell you that. Well, we all know that feeding good fiber, taking certain probiotics, and staying away from sugars is going to help with this. So if you have already implemented all of those things I mentioned, and you're still getting nowhere, then do a test. But I like rarely do I recommend those tests. Like if people are implementing all the things and they're doing it well and we're still nowhere, then let's test and get hyper focused. But get back to basics first. And if we're not covering the basics, then there's no point in blowing our money on tests, right? Yes, I've been on an elimination diet for the past 8 months for my daughter's eczema, but I'm still breastfeeding. Such a process, but necessary. It is so hard. I know it's really hard. But you're killing it, by the way. So you do such a good job. Do you have a good green smoothie recipe for those not used to the green smoothie taste? I wouldn't say it's good. I have some recipes. I can post them. Like I wouldn't say people are like, oh my gosh, this is the most amazing thing in the world, because I don't love tons of sugar in my smoothies, but they're palatable, and a lot of the time I don't even put fruit in mine. I am not a sexy green smoothie maker, guys. I'm sorry. That's why my page isn't blasted with green smoothies. But I know there's probably people out there that do it. So, sounds like Vitamix. Is Vitamix the one? Yeah, it's probably a Vitamix. I could just go and look. So I think it is a Vitamix that I have. The Blend Tech is the one that has the multiple speeds and you can turn it up and it's got the stick. And I hate that one. That one breaks on me like all the time. Don't like it. That's like at the bottom. That and Ninja, not a fan of. I don't like those ones. Vitamix, Instapot blenders, those ones are great. What do I put in my green smoothie? I have a saved story of green smoothies. I'll post a few other ones. There's some green smoothie recipes in my recipe book, How to Heal, if you guys want to try those too. What? There's a highlight. Yes, there is a highlight. Thank you, Vicky. My daughter has been having for a few years stomach back pain and used to have fevers along with it. Also, she had some sort of acne. Is that gut related? Almost everything is gut related. Almost every single thing is gut related, especially if you're having stomach pain. It's 100% gut related and immune related, actually. Like that sounds like, and again, like an immune response is a gut response because 70% of your immune system is your bacteria. And your healthy bacteria, like if it's up here, it actually sends out chemotaxis. It's these chemicals that actually modulate the immune system. That's my phone. Sorry, that's my phone telling me it's about to die. So if you are not, I better end this soon. So if you don't have the good guys sending out the good chemicals to tell the immune system to do the good things, and instead you're having like bad chemicals like LPSs, lipopolysaccharides, creating an inflammatory response that's aggravating the immune system, yeah, you're going to have inflammation systemically. So, or in certain areas, depending on where your weak links are. My daughter's been having a few bobas. Yeah, got pregnancy safe green smoothie powders. I wouldn't say there are any. Talk to your doctor and see, like, bring them to your doctor. Oh, I don't want to talk about heavy metals and greens. That's a whole other lecture for another time, but it needs to be talked about soon. How can you find out if you have leaky gut other than having, if you have the symptoms? A specialist doctor? How does it get tested? Honestly, if you have a high amount of IgG and IgE, like markers and foods that you react to, you probably have leaky gut, because you shouldn't be reacting to food. You should be able to eat all foods. So if you can't eat all foods or the majority of them, you probably have leaky gut. After taking paleo organ complex. What could be causing that? Low hydrochloric acid in your stomach could be causing that. Can you speak on living water? I don't know what living water is. I'm sorry. I won't talk in PCOS because we're talking green smoothies. Sorry. I might have missed it, but I really wanted to change my diet and eat raw and smoothies and so on. I'm just afraid. Okay, so here's the thing. Going back to the inflammation curve, this is really important before my phone dies, and it's going to die soon. Remember the inflammation curve. The higher you are on the curve, like the more inflammation you have, the more food intolerances you have. If you're up here on the inflammation curve, you most likely cannot digest raw foods. So if you're very sick, don't try to go on a raw food diet. You are going to tear up your gut. You're going to be bloated. You're going to be gassy. And here's why. Because your good bacteria status is way down here and your bad bacteria is like partying it up right here, okay? So if you throw a bunch of raw vegetables and these guys are like on vacation because they're tired and they're malnourished, they are not going to be digesting all that raw food. They're going to be like, sorry. And all that raw food and all that fiber is going to just be rotting in your gut and creating an inflammatory response. So don't do it. The majority of my people, I tell them to cook 90% of their food at first, keep 10% raw, and then over the months, they can go to 80-20, and then 70-30, and then 60-40, et cetera, et cetera. So if you have digestive issues, don't do a raw food diet. I mean, talk to your professional, but that's not what I recommend in the beginning. All right, I'm going to end this because I know my phone's going to die. So hopefully that was helpful, you guys. Oh, there's so many questions. What are the name of the probiotics I recommend? I really love Megaspore. It is my favorite. You can get that at Provo Health. Just make sure you go to the top right-hand corner or left-hand corner, click login or create an account, and then you can see the products once you've created an account and logged in. So Megaspore is my favorite. And I will save this. It'll be saved in my IGTV. So you'll just have to like scroll over when you go to my main page and it has all my posts. Just go over to the next and it'll have my IGTVs. All right, you guys, thanks so much for listening. I'll talk to you later. Bye.